Before we get into this awesome podcast with Dom, and oh my gosh, you guys, it's incredible. He used to be in prison, literally, and he prayed to God for an answer. And wait till you see what happened with his vegan journey and how far he's come. This story will blow your freaking mind. And I know a big thing for Dom personally, myself, and so many people out there has been giving up dairy. So I want to show you guys something huge that you can save on right now. It's the brand new Nama M1 plant-based milk maker. They just spent about 3 years working on this. They created the best plant-based milk maker in the entire world. This creates barista-style, creamy, silky, foamy milk right at home, and it only takes 60 seconds. You put all your ingredients in, you press your button, you're good to go. And you guys, everyone who gets one of these loves it so much. It is worth the money. It makes making plant milk fun because so many of the milks at the grocery store are loaded with crap and they're just not as fresh. Who knows how long ago they were made? So go pick up one of these today. I'll put my code and the link down below. Go support your girl and stick around to the end. This podcast is so good. Okay, Dominic Thompson. Finally, we're sitting down for our interview. Yes. We've had a lot of obstacles, snow in Florida, so many things, but we are here.
We're here. It was meant to be.
Yeah,
it was.
And I don't know if you like this term, but it's not you anymore, but you are an ex-con, yes, which is so funny because talk about a transformation story.
Sure.
So you have quite the history. You were in prison. I'm excited to talk about this, how the food was, and just how you made, now look at you, successful author. I love your new book.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And successful vegan, chef, activist, so many things.
Yeah.
So how's it going?
It's going. I'm just very happy to be here, and I'm very fortunate. I think a lot of us don't realize just to wake up today, because so many people didn't wake up today with a roof over our heads, and so I'm very blessed and fortunate to be here.
I love that, and we're blessed to have you here.
Thank you.
And you are just a creator, so creative. You have one of my favorite sweatshirts of all time in my closet. Is the "Eat What Elephants Eat."
Yeah, and I was just telling Scott and a few others, that's still to this day the #1 selling vegan shirt in the world. You know, "Eat What Elephants Eat." Yeah, it's such a symbolic, iconic shirt. And I'm just so happy to be the creator behind that, because what we originally thought was going to, do about 100 units. And I created it to raise awareness around the poaching and the poaching crisis that was at an all-time high with the elephants and rhinos, and to help raise funding for drones and rangers, because drone technology back then was just too expensive, and it just went viral. We sold over 5,000 units in our first quarter of releasing that about 8 years ago.
And you're bringing it back, right?
Yes, we're bringing it back. The iconic
I'm so
shirt.
excited.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at you, like you are glowing. You look so healthy and you look so young. Okay.
Thank you.
And I think you recently had a birthday, and I think you're 46.
Yes, I'm 46.
Is this true? Like, this is insane. So do you think this is to do with the plant foods?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been 24 years for me. I've been vegan now for 14 years. And prior to that, I was vegetarian for 10 years, and I stopped eating meat in prison. Yeah, my first week in prison.
We got to get into this. Take us back. Like, how long were you in prison?
They gave me basically a 10-year sentence, 5 years of hard time and 5 years of house arrest.
And my God.
Yeah, and I ended up doing about 3 years in prison of hard time.
Like, I'm sure to a lot of people, like I've seen people go to influencers online. One guy talk about just having to be there for 24 hours and being like, it was crazy. I would never want to go back.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It's definitely something. It was an experience, but there is some incidents that happened that was truly inhumane. Specifically, when I had to go to the hole for fighting, I was in there exactly for 40 nights.
What's that? What do you mean the hole for fighting?
The SHU, the segregated housing unit specifically, and it's like 3 steel doors to get to you. So you're on lockdown 23/5, and on weekends 24/7. You don't have any daylight coming in or anything like that.
So do you feel like a totally different person now versus who you were back then?
Yeah, absolutely. I was not who you wouldn't even recognize me. In fact, I look older back then too.
I've seen pictures of you.
Yeah,
I'll try to put them on the screen right now. But okay, so a lot of people are probably wondering, why did you go to prison?
Yeah. I used to be heavy in the streets in Chicago. I'm a former gang member, but I used to sell drugs, specifically kilos of cocaine that landed me where I got indicted by the federal government. I was actually in college finishing school and retired and out the dope game, going to school for architecture and design. and also had my first entry-level position in healthcare, and then that old lifestyle came and caught up with me.
Oh, then you got back into it.
Yeah, it was they use almost as a mule a childhood friend to get to me, specifically. Yeah, this childhood friend who they use as a pawn, and exploit it in a way to try to get me to commit to almost like one last score, if you will, in a scenario like that.
Geez.
And I was against it because I'm in school. I got a decent job. I was out the dope game, and that lifestyle was not for me anymore. But it was a lot of pressure coming. And so I eventually, after so much pressure from different angles, committed to green lighting that situation, which ultimately landed me in prison.
Yeah, and I've heard, like, obviously, I'm not connected to the gang world, I know, but I've heard that it can be really hard to get out of. Like, you hear that, you know?
No? I always tell people that's totally the opposite. Hollywood got that wrong.
Really?
Like, I feel like Hollywood put this ideal in people's head that to get out of a gang, and granted, every city and every gang and every set is different for sure. But my gang and my city and where I come from and my timeline, no, you can walk away. Obviously, if you don't have any dues you need to pay, or any obligations to the gangs and stuff like that, but it's not what Hollywood painted to be, like you can't get out the gang like that.
Well, too bad you went in for that one last thing. Okay, so I want to know, like, take me through, before we get into all the food stuff, because we got to talk about that.
Sure.
Take me into the moment you got busted. Like, how did that happen? How did you get it, like, when the cops got you?
The feds, not the cops. So this was a federal case, not a state case specifically. And we refer to it being ex-felon, not con. Like, con, to me, con is associated with like con artists. That's okay. That's okay. It's like con. No, I'm not a con. But yeah, it was, I was in college getting ready to finish my degree in design and more. And again, a childhood friend of mine reached out to me. At that time, there was what we called a drought in the streets of Chicago. And you may not know what a drought means, but a drought in terms of street language means that there's no drugs coming through the city, and that could be a bad thing. People, need to make money from, whether they're hustlers and what we call customers or dope fiends, needed to be supplied, and specifically. And sometimes droughts happen when there's a big federal bust that happened, or a shipment was seized, or the streets are hot and all of that. And in that specific moment in timeline, there was only about 5 different high-ranking dudes that can greenlight and make something happen. And I was one of them.
Wow, crazy.
And so in that scenario, my friend, my childhood friend, reached out to me, asked me if we can make this happen, and I was against it because I was out the game and I didn't want to have nothing to do with that. I turned my life around. I was already on the path to being a productive citizen and working. I wanted to work in design and more, but the pressure kept coming. It was almost an entrapment case. And so after months of chasing me down and wearing me down, and them putting pressure on him, where there was a scenario where, without me going into details, it had to do with a life or death situation, that I greenlighted that situation. And it just so happened it was a setup with 2 informants.
Oh, so the whole thing was a setup?
It was a whole setup.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it was
like the childhood friend was setting you up, even? Like, it was...
No, in full honesty and transparency, he was just caught up in the middle. They literally used him to get to me.
Well, they should have seen too that you were like, no, like, not wanting to do it. Like, that's that was something right there, right?
So that was our angle. That I hired the best attorneys that money could buy at the time to let's fight them on entrapment, right? But then that's when my attorney had a very heart-to-heart with me, and I ended up in that moment never had a person with those credentials, a Black attorney male, that sat me down and had a long discussion with me, said, this is what's called karma. I didn't even know what karma meant. Keep in mind, I'm like a 20, 21-year-old Dominic at the time with no idea what I was facing and what was getting ready to happen. And he sat me down and said, look, I know you want to take them to trial. And we have some good evidence. We can fight, entrapment. But if you lose, this is the U.S. government. I got to emphasize, this is not the state of Illinois. This is not the people of the city of Chicago. This is not the people of Cook County. This is your government, the United States of America versus you. You feel very much like a terrorist. You feel like an outsider. Your government, your federal government is coming after you. And their conviction rate is like 87%. And if you lose, you're not coming home till you're in your 30s, because they view it as you're wasting taxpayers' money. So I had a lot of thinking to do in that scenario. Part of me was like, let's go then. Let's fight this entrapment case, because this is something I wasn't looking for. They came after me. But as he said, and he made a good point, you and I both know you're not completely innocent. Mm-hmm. And there comes a times where some of the things you used to do, even as a young man, this is what's called paying your dues. And this is a result of that, consequences or karma coming back to pay your dues. And also, I didn't want to take nobody down. They was trying to give me the role, and I'm not that type of dude. I'm a stand-up guy. I take full responsibility for myself. So I did. I took full responsibility, and we did a blind plea and pleaded for possession. And I took it to the chin. First-time offender. I didn't even have a speeding ticket up until that point.
Wow.
But the sentencing guidelines, even for a non-violent first-time offender, call for some sort of incarceration. Because a lot of these laws, when it comes to the drug laws, is rooted in white supremacy and really created to lock up a lot of Black and brown men from marginalized communities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So that's what happened.
What a crazy story. And then, so how did prison change you as a person?
Changed a lot. Like my first week, I was trying to figure out my why. What am I doing here? I knew that this is a consequence of what I was doing in the streets or my past, but it just didn't seem real to me. Here I am, I got removed out of society. And I tell people this all the time. People think they know themselves, but you really don't know yourselves until you completely in isolation without this crazy busy world that we live in, both socially and digitally, until you're in complete isolation and you really, really learn yourself. So I really learned a lot about myself. So I got down on my knees my first week in prison and I prayed. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I prayed to God to try to get some answers. And everything pointed to this childhood memory when I was 8 years old, an 8-year-old Dominic. My mother was feeding us chicken wings, because I come from humble beginnings, right? I come from a very poor and very challenging background in the beginning. But she was feeding us chicken wings. There was 2 types of meat that she would feed us what she couldn't afford, which was chicken wings and pork chops. And so these wings was in front of me, and I looked at them, and I was already a picky eater. Like I would pick little pieces of the slimy flesh from the tendons of the wings. And if anybody look at their forearm, you can see your own tendons and veins. So imagine, so imagine digging between that. That's why I felt like I was digging, and I never liked that at all. And so I looked at those wings, and I looked at her, and then I looked at the wings and looked at my arms, and I was like, I can't eat this. She was like, why? I was like, they look like little bitty arms. And then this is the 80s. So imagine a single mom, with her only son, and she looking at him. It's not like she can go to Google, like, what can I feed this guy?
I grew up in the 80s too, no Google.
So, know, and so we had a standoff. She was like, well, then you're not going to eat.
We had a standoff.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And then I told her, but she raised me to speak my mind, and I'm going to chip off the old block. And I was like, well, then I'm not going to eat. And so she was a little bit frustrated, but she followed her intuition, and she went to the grocery store, and she figured it out just naturally that it's the presentation of the food in itself that kept me from wanting to eat this piece of flesh that was attached to the bone, the anatomy of the actual cut itself.
Yeah.
So she went to give me some fish sticks. So I grew I grew up eating a lot of fish sticks and chicken nuggets because anything associated or attached to a bone,
Yeah.
I didn't want to have anything to do with it. But in that moment, when I was sitting in my cell, it went off like a light bulb. This memory as I was praying, this messaging, and then it was the universe basically telling me that whether you're an 8-year-old Dominic or an 80-year-old Dominic, if the universe shows you something and you don't see through it, it's going to come back and hunt you, or in some capacity. It could be through health, wellness, finances, personal loss and gains from your family. And that's what I felt the universe was doing. It removed me from society because I kind of lost my way. Even at 8 years old, I was very ahead of my time with my thinking and more. I even graduated early from high school, but here I was trying to figure out my why. And then like a light bulb, I was like, I get it. And it was right then and there I denounced eating meat. I made a hard spiritual reset and a hard reset to remove animals. And I promised the universe that I would, if I can get home sooner, I would never eat a piece of flesh again. I just like, I get it. And then I created this mantra right then and there that if it requires harm, then no, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
And what a life-changing mantra.
It
And
was,
this was all
24 years ago.
So then you decided you were going to be vegan while you're in prison.
Vegetarian.
Or vegetarian.
Yeah,
vegetarian. So how are the food choices in prison?
Yeah, so keep in mind too, this is 24 years ago. Vegetarianism was very much in alignment and integrated with veganism. You know, there was no two different communities. There was one community. And I was one of the loudest vegetarians, like thinking I didn't care if I had a piece of bread that had eggs in it or a pasta that had eggs in it or, you know, oatmeal that they might have put milk in. As long as it didn't have any flesh, to my own ignorance. It wasn't until I got home later on that I realized, oh, the dairy industry is a lot worse and dairy is scary.
Yeah, I agree.
But in the prison system, I would trade my meat protein with my cellmates for their carbs. So I ate a lot of complex and simple carbs.
I love it.
A lot of pasta, a lot of oatmeal, a lot of rice. We would make these different rice bowls and we'll make these burritos. We'll crunch a bunch of bags of Doritos and put like what we call 180 hot water in there and make like a little paste and then put that paste on old garbage bags, clean garbage bags, but the plastic bags that they would hand us for all our units. And we'll just like do this paste and make it a burrito where we'll put like ramen noodles on top of that and more and chop up some vegetables and tomatoes. This is what I did.
Yeah.
But my cellmates, they'll put like mackerels or other stuff in there, type of fish and all types of chicken and cans of tuna. But I made these very healthy vegetarian bowls and I ate a lot of that or whatever. If in the kitchen, if they were serving pasta, I would eat a lot of that. And my cellmates thought I was crazy and I was weird. It was like, Dom, you sure you want to give us this chicken for our pasta? I was like, yeah. And there was no data out there. I didn't know what I was doing. All I know is that if it requires harm, it involves animals, I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I didn't care if I was going to wither away or not. But the opposite happened. I went in there over 250 pounds. Within months, that inflammation disappeared. I dropped all the way down to like 205. I think the lowest I got in prison was like 187, but I was solid. I was strong. I was benching high numbers, squatting high numbers, deadlifting high numbers. And we'll have what's called liftoffs in prison, where this is a compound of over 1,000 inmates. I think at that time we had like up to 1,200. Out of that 1,200, a bunch of inmates that participating in these liftoffs, I was always in the top 10, outlifting a lot of these dudes. Yeah, like
Dom.
and it's due to diet, like, you know.
You were meant to be on this diet at some point,
It's the universe. Yeah, it was like
destiny.
The tribe and the community and the energy was just, I was gravitating to a better purpose. Yeah, and I never looked back.
And did you notice like spiritual and other benefits as well? It had physical, obviously, but you noticed changes?
I think a lot of us in our communities, in the vegan communities and the plant-based communities, even in the raw community, we don't talk enough about the spiritual transformation, the component, you know, the mental clarity that it does for us, and also the rewards that we receive in terms of not participating in a society full of a lot of evil things and being a consumer that's supporting these industries that's destroying over 50 to 100 billion animals a year.
It's crazy, the world today.
Yeah, it's crazy, but the reward to do less harm and be as peaceful and as kind as we can, a lot of good things have opened up for me in my professional life and in my personal life. So it's been a really great ascension.
Yeah, and I would think maybe do you find eating a cleaner diet, not eating the animal foods and certain things help you deal with trauma? Because I know and just help you because it helps you be more spiritual, right? Because I know you've been through like from what I read, I think when you were 5 years old, you
Yeah.
witnessed, I don't know if I can use the M word on YouTube. Can I say that word on YouTube? They're so crazy with some words.
The
Like you saw somebody lose their life in front of you.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're
And
right.
they
I don't know
were
if you can say the
M-worded.
N-word. Yeah, they were.
Because there's
Yeah.
lots of rules and restrictions, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I'm sure you guys know what I
absolutely.
mean now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you saw that at age 5,
Yeah, a guy
which is
brains.
so hardcore and crazy.
Yeah, yeah. His brains was blown out of him. Yeah,
So
I seen my
stuff like
first.
that,
Yeah,
like you've been through a lot.
yeah.
So that obviously had to affect you in a lot of things. So do you find that being vegan, because I just feel like I often see this as somebody who interviews people, do you find that being vegan in this journey has helped you sort of work through those traumas and learn from them and become sort of
Yeah, well, yes, but also in fairness, a lot of us that come from those backgrounds in those communities, we come kind of like it's kind of immune to us, right? We kind of used to it. It's like I lost so many homies growing up. I lost so many loved ones. Probably like 5 close friends to the streets specifically. So one after another, and then another one. You're getting a phone call about another one died. So honestly, it's what you
wow.
expect. And they used to rap about this a lot in music, but a lot of us did feel this way that a lot of us didn't think we'll make it to 18. Then when you hit 18, you didn't think you was gonna make it to 21. And then when you hit 21, you're like, okay, I'm not gonna make it past 25. Especially when you live in that active lifestyle in the streets where you have to always look over your shoulder. And someone's always out to get you. And then even if you are innocent, not doing nothing, a lot of bystanders get taken out too, a lot of times too, just being at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong crowd. So
Yeah, and so you know that how that happened, you kind of got back into the game and then that ended up happening. You went to prison
yeah,
when you were going to be an architect and stuff or whatever.
yeah. When I was in
If
school
you
for
never
design,
went back for that one time, do you think you'd be where you are today? Or like I'm saying, are you kind of glad that that happened now or no?
yes.
Wow.
So I tell people this all the time. If I had to do it again, I would. It made me a better person. Like I don't regret that experience. And it's not because the BOP or the Bureau of Prisons or prison itself had these amazing programs and I was able to learn things. No, they had nothing to do with that. My own transformation was because of me. I did the work, I had the ambition, I had the initiative. I read a lot of books. I wrote a lot of books in there. I
No
did a lot
way,
of study.
Dom. Look at see,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it. It's like if you're going to be faced with that, that's the way to do it, right? Because I'm sure
Yeah.
you see some people in prison not doing that, right? Not working
Correct.
out, not reading books. Like there must,
There is a lot, but there's also a lot that also do what I did too in their own different journey. So I spent that time really transforming and becoming a better person. Because, like I said, when you out here in this world, you have so many distractions that's really stopping you and your blessings, and stopping you from really thriving and becoming a better human than you were yesterday. And the science shows that too. We are not who we were yesterday. We are not who we were last week. We are not who we were last year. Life is about evolution and growing. And I don't think a lot of people really realize that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I want to ask you about the food and a lot of those things in one second, but one more thing about the prison. What was
Sure.
the craziest thing that ever happened in your prison experience?
Oh, when this coward hit me from behind. So imagine a guy. I'm a big guy. Like I'm 230 pounds, man, solid. And this guy took this metal chair and swung it with all his might and hit me from behind without me seeing it happen and knocked me out unconsciously, where I had amnesia. And then that's what I tell you about the whole. That's the fighting scenario. It was all the way a chess game. So I'm a really good chess player. I've been playing chess since I've been 5. My mother showed me how to play chess. I'm really good. And in prison, I was you have time in your hands. So I would spend my time playing a lot of chess in my downtime if I wasn't bettering myself through reading or working out and more. And this inmate decided to play me. He was across, his cell was across from mine, and we was playing for push-ups because I didn't believe in gambling. People would gamble commissary and more, and I didn't have money on my books like that. My mother barely can send me money as it was. She was the only one that really had. Her and my sisters had my back, but they were struggling. So it's not like I was sitting on a lot of money. I'm not finna jag off money on a game that or my mother working her ass off just to send me a few dollars so I can get some fruit and vegetables from commissary that I couldn't get out the kitchen. So we'll play for push-ups, 1 sets of push-ups. And so it was very hard to beat me, but he beat me right before count. 4 o'clock count is notorious where you need to be in your cell at your next to your bed while the COs, before they switch shifts, would do a count to make sure no one escaped. We had counts probably 5 to 6 times throughout the day in prison. And here I was probably like 3 minutes before count or 5 minutes before count, and he just checkmate me. And he's like, all right, give me that 100 push-ups. I was like, I do it at the count. We got to get back. Because if you, I don't know if we can say cuss words, but if you fuck up the count, you're in trouble. Like you're going to the hole, because you in a rural community. These are COs. They're ready to get home. A lot of these CO men they have unhealthy lifestyles. They're heavy carnivore eaters to drinkers and more. So you fuck up their count, they're going to make an example out of you. And I didn't want to do that. And he knew better. We're not like some newbies in prison. We've probably been there now, at least a year or a little before that. So, and here we are playing chess. And he's like, no, come off that now. It's like, and I looked at him. I was like, at the count, I had to double down on it. And he's like, no, I want that now. I was like, I said, fuck you. We'll do this at the count, just like that. And prison, just like, I don't know if you had a long interview before where people film you. You forget you're being filmed. Just like in prison, you forget your surroundings. You forget that you need to have your guard up. And I casually said that because I felt like he had a line. He crossing my boundaries. And if he want a problem, we can have a problem. But when I said I just turned my back casually to go back to my cell. And that's when everything went black. He took a chair, the coward way, to hit me from behind. And I woke up and I had to it was a crazy out-of-body experience. I was going in and out of conscious. My cellmate, Ty, he had me in his arms trying to get me to come to. And I kept going out because he was the one, I later found out he came into that room where we was playing chess, the game room. And dude was kicking me unconscious, and Ty had to jump on him. I was unconscious, and he was just kicking me with his cellmate, So because of that scenario, I'll save you a little bit more details, but I finally came to, they had to ship me to the hospital because I had amnesia for probably hours and hours. I didn't know who I was. And the doctors and the COs, I woke up in the bed conscious where I had handcuffs to my arms, and I'm trying to get out the bed. What is going on? And I felt like a vegetable. I couldn't even create words or nothing. And the CO's like, inmate, do you know where you're at? And I didn't even know I couldn't even comprehend what he was saying. I was like, nothing. And the doctor kept telling him, chill, he just went through some trauma. He don't know he has a blunt force to the back of his head. And I didn't know who I was. I had amnesia. And then I just closed my eyes, and then I looked up again and just kind of just inhaled, and I kind of dozed off again. And then I woke up again, and I'm looking at the COs in the corner, and all of a sudden I feel this warm sensation in the back of my neck. And then all of a sudden, and this felt like a movie where my ears started ringing with bass, woo, 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 and all these memories. I felt like I was a computer. Literally millions of memories just downloaded in my head, boo, 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 all the way up into the point when I turned my back on dude. I see my childhood in front of me, everything. And I just started shaking the bed violently because now I know who I am. I snapped up out of it. And I tried to get out the bed, and the CEO was like, yo, hey, man, what's going on? I was like, get me the fuck out. I was angry because I don't know if you or anyone that's listening ever been in a life or death situation, but when another human tries to take your life, you yourself become a different human. you want to respond violently because someone tried to hurt you. Like, he literally tried to take my life. So only thing I knew at that point, and this is a young Dominic. This is not a 46-year-old Dominic. This is a Dominic in his 20s. All I wanted to do was destroy this guy with my bare hands. And I was trying to get out of that bed. And the CO was like, chill, you okay? He was like, do you know what? I was like, yes, I'm in Minnesota. And they asked me to read back my inmate number. I was like, 424. Then do you know what you hit for? Possession with the intent. Get me the fuck out of here. I was angry because now I knew who I was. So they handcuffed me and escorted me back to the prison where the lieutenants interviewed me. And they asked me, well, do you know, they knew who did it. But since I wouldn't implement him, they put me in a hole to try to break me because I didn't want to implement him. I didn't want to roll on him because I wanted him for myself. See, I was thinking premeditated. Like, I just wanted to get him one-on-one, square up for myself. I didn't want them to have the luxury to remove him from me because I wanted to get to him first after what he did. Again, this is a young Dominic. I don't think like this now, but this
you're
is
older and wiser now.
different now. But this is a young Dominic. This is a young Dominic.
Yeah.
Wanting to get back at this dude for trying to take my life. So they put me in a hole for exactly 40 nights. And they eventually let me out because I wouldn't break. And they shipped him to a different prison and put me back in general population. And yeah, that was the wildest thing that happened to me. Later on, my understanding that a bunch of Chicago dudes jumped on him at a different prison.
No way.
Yeah,
crazy.
after they heard what happened, because usually in the feds, Chicago boys stick together. New York sticks to New York, no matter your gang and your fraction. But rumors carry, and yeah, people heard what he did to me, and so there was some consequences that I didn't say do, but yeah, something happened to him for sure.
And so the day you got out, that must have felt good, right? And then you.
It was crazy. They let me out. You talking about the day I got out the prison or out the hole?
No, like the day you permanently got out of prison.
Oh yeah. It was crazy. Everything felt. It was. I remember being in a car and it was too fast for me. The traffic, everything was. I was just overstimulated. And I remember the music being on the radio. I would turn it off on my way to being transported out the prison. I didn't want to. I just came home very militant and very angry at myself and putting myself in that. But also I was so like almost like a purist where I didn't want to hear no rap music, no bad influences. I didn't want to hear noise. Like my head, I was very dizzy. I got, my first week was tough re-entering society because I felt sick seeing so many cars move around. It was just too fast for my thinking.
Too much stimulation.
It's too much stimulation.
You think it affects us, all the stimulation we have every day?
I think it does, and we just don't realize it for sure.
Me too. It's not normal. It's not how it used to be way back in the day, right? Sometimes I feel like it really affects me. I'm like, it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's not healthy, yeah.
And okay, so you rebuilt a life, and you rebuilt a vegan life. Now, like, big author, I think a bunch of different publishers were fighting over who's going to get this book. Like, so much going on. Like, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a really great opportunity. What I like about this book specifically, it's not like just your usual cookbook. It's a hybrid where we actually talk about what we just talked about on the podcast, my autobiography, my origin story. In the first part of the book, you get to see my transformation and my why, and we break down a lot of these myths and stereotypes and more. But I take you through my journey before we actually get into some really incredible whole plant-based recipes, not highly processed or cooked seed oil recipes. These are whole plant-based recipes.
Because that's important, right? That we eat whole foods, because the processed foods, all these other foods, they really affect us and they're not good.
Yeah, they're not good. And now a lot of the science data is finally catching up to that, especially here in America. I don't know. Well, I do know, as you all know, a lot of our elected officials on both sides of the aisle has allowed so many companies with their lobbyists just introduce a lot of these forever chemicals and everything else into our food system, and these dyes that are not natural. It's really sad that our elected officials who we put in these positions of power that simply don't care about us, our children, and more with these big food industry, because it's big business. Which is also integrated with big ag too as well. And
well, it's good. Now we have people like you creating these incredible books, right? And sharing your story. And so like the world is changing, even if it's not as fast as we all want it to.
Yeah.
There is progress. And so you've been on this journey for a long time now. You're looking good. Like we said,
Thank you.
you're
You look great
46.
too. Thank
Thank
you.
you. It's just amazing. So tell us how you make it work long term as a vegan and maybe how your journey has evolved over the years.
Yeah, that's a really good segue. I was talking earlier with our both of our mutual good friend Scott about this, how I was, you know, a lot of people, my day ones remember this about me, but my platform not only grew because of my work in animal advocacy and human rights, but also because I used to be a really heavy endurance athlete. I used to do Ironmans and triathlons and
That's
stuff
right.
way back in the day. And during that time doing triathlons, I was primarily raw. And then there was times where I was fully raw specifically. And that diet, everyone's going to have a different response to there's probably over 10 to 15 different diets within the plant-based community. But for me, it helped with my recovery. It helped with me able to train high volume cycling to high volume running and swimming and more. It was one of the best ways for an endurance athlete to recover on those specific runs and also those specific treks. So I have had a lot of experience doing a lot of different vegan diets, from whole plant-based to raw to balanced 50-50 and more. And to me, the best option has always been whole plant-based specifically, especially when you get into juicing and smoothies and more, because people forget you open up those cells and all those nutrients are in those cells of those specific fruits and veggies that you're juicing and extracting. Because when you eat it whole plant-based, you're going to retain some of it, but a lot of the fiber is pushing it through your microbiome where you don't retain a lot of it, versus when you're juicing it, it's like a shot of enhancement that's going into your body and your bloodstream
So
and
you
gives you
like
so much
juicing
energy.
then? You like
I love
juicing?
juicing. I love blending smoothies and more. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
So what favorite juice and favorite smoothie?
So I have what I call like a peanut power bomb, like a big boy peanut butter uh, plant-based smoothie that I use with hemp seeds, uh, peanut butter powder. I don't really get too much with oil peanut butter and stuff like that, but the powder is
It's good, and they take out a lot
less
of the fat,
fattening.
so it's not so
Yes,
fat.
less
Yeah,
fattening,
it's
less
good. I've had
fattening.
it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good.
With bananas. I love me some bananas. I think bananas is underrated. I think we need to get back to eating more
Yeah,
bananas.
let's go. Yeah,
Yeah,
we do.
for sure. And I use it with mineral waters. I'm not really big into I do plant-based milks in some capacities, not store-bought, by the way. I prefer to make my own. There's probably only one. It's a couple good brands out there. Amherst is good. They only have 3 ingredients. It's usually filter water. The actual, for example, their oat milk is oats, filter water, and that's pretty much it. They may add like a maple syrup to it or something like that, but for me, when I'm making my smoothies, I just use mineral water. Like I drink a lot of mineral water specifically. If I'm drinking tap water, I use a Berkey to reverse that. I think
Good
it's
water.
important. We forget that our water is not healthy too. It's full of a lot of different hard additives and metals too, especially here in America. But yeah, so my smoothies have a lot of base of mineral water or water in itself, because I even add, when I'm doing my own water, I add the sea minerals back into it specifically.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Wow.
electrolytes. Yeah.
Yeah, and plant-based milks are just so much healthier, especially the less ingredients and more nutritious. So take
Yeah.
us through why you think dairy is not good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obvious to me, but maybe some people still need a bit more inspiration out there to kick it as to why you think like the plant milks are better and why we should give up dairy. It's such a crazy industry, right?
It's such a very scary industry in itself. And I'll take people through, the listeners, through more the ethical side. Like, I mean, imagine you are a female calf and you're being fed up into year one or a little bit less, certain synthetics and milks and more. But your life in the dairy industry for up to 5 years. Now, cows can live up to 20 to 25 years naturally.
Wow.
But your life in the dairy industry is going to go up to about 5 years, where you're artificially impregnated and inseminated with, artificially just pregnant, and what in the industry call a rate rod and rack specifically, and just so you can lactate and become pregnant. And then your calf is removed from you specifically. And if it's a male calf, it's more than likely going to the veal industry. And if it's a female calf, she's going to do what mom did, specifically all because of cheese, all because of milk in itself. And that's just, one, is unethical. Two, is inhumane. Three, is unhealthy. But that's just no way to treat another species.
No, and I've heard they have feelings too, and that they whimper when.
Yeah,
That's like
they whimper when their
I'm
calves
a
are
mom
taken
who
away.
breastfed. To have that happen, it's just like crazy as
Imagine
dark.
they're taking your children away from you and expect you to do it all over again. Just because there's an industry calling for cheese or calling for
and there's an energy
and
there, right? Like that's bad vibes. It's bad energy. There's like an energy behind that when you consume those things, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely.
And like not only that, there's all that, but it's also not even to me healthy. Like there's way more alternatives now. And just all the mucus.
Very unhealthy.
And all
the mucus, the pus, what it does to the bones. It actually does the opposite. It don't produce strong bones. It produces weak bones specifically. It causes inflammation and more. Yeah, bad bacteria. It's really bad for your microbiome. The dairy industry is not healthy at all.
No.
There's no data really to support it at all. And you wouldn't drink milk from a dog. You wouldn't drink milk from a cat. You wouldn't drink milk from a giraffe. It just makes no sense. But we're the only species to drink milk from a different species.
And talk about all the hormones,
Oh, that's even worse.
It's meant to turn a baby calf. In my opinion, I think it's meant to turn a baby calf into like a 750-pound cow within a year, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's what that milk does.
Absolutely.
So think of all the hormones and causes acne, all these problems within the body, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's something else maybe about the animal industry that you wish more people knew?
Yeah, they're literally, one thing I wish more people knew is about the hog industry within the animal agri industry. Here in America, 7 out of 10 times, if you're eating pork, bacon, people love their bacon, you're eating that pork that was sourced from the Carolinas, which those hog industries are strategically placed in marginalized communities where they don't have the resources or the finances to fight against big ag specifically. And that demographics is the highest emitting demographics into some of those health systems because those hogs are being slaughtered out there and it's causing a lot of air pollution. Their lagoons are overfilling and streaming into the streams and the rivers and more. And a lot of those residents, those native residents, are in Black rural communities. And these farms, these big commercial farms, are able to get away with that. And those people being admitted have all types of illnesses from sinuses to heart conditions and more, symptomatic headaches and more. And when you support bacon or pork, you're supporting environmental racism, basically.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't realize that.
It's such a crazy industry now.
Yeah,
everything.
It is.
Hopefully it changes. I'm sure it will, but it's crazy. Like
we'll see.
Hopefully it changes for the better.
These lobbies are strong. These industries are strong. People.
It's just such so much badness going on with it. So much wrong, so much evil, darkness, opposite of what we really are, and just bad energy behind that when people consume that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're consuming death. You're not consuming good energy at all. You're consuming something that was slaughtered, that had a face like you, had eyes like you, that wanted to live and thrive just like you.
And there's a lot of people that think, well, animals eat animals, like they eat each other. We need that.
So I always say that with this argument, if you look at your hands, and if you're listening right now, open up your hands, the palms of your hands. And naturally, it wants to go area. It wants to go vertical. Your hands, it's made for picking, right? You turn this over. That don't feel as natural to go over like that. That's not made for clawing. When you rest your hands, they naturally want to go up. Your fingernails to your teeth down to your gut and your digestive system is made to digest plants. You don't have the physical attributes or the weaponry of an apex predator or a carnivore that can run up here at 20 miles per hour, that can sense things, that can smell things. You're not by design made to eat meat. If me and you was having this podcast and chilling right now on a farm and a 800-pound hog comes up to us or a 1,000-pound plus cow comes up and just nudges you right now, just nudges you, rubs you with their face, just nudges you. What do you think your first instinct is?
Pet it,
pet it, exactly.
Yeah,
nothing in you innately wants to pounce on it because you're hungry. And you can't even take your hand to swipe that open. They'll kick your ass too. A cow throw down with you if you try to wrestle with them. So I tell people, show me a human being that can open up an animal with its raw hands and more, and that can consume it with the tendons in place and the organs and the heart still beating. And I said, yeah, we're made to eat animals. We're not. We need man-made tools to kill them, and then we need man-made tools to cook them up, which is carcinogens, and that's just completely unhealthy and unethical.
And some of these carnivores even, just eating the meat or eating the raw meat. I'm like, how do they not get sick with this raw meat? You see some of them with like the raw chicken and stuff? I'm like, I don't get it.
A lot of them are not fully honest and transparent about what they might be experiencing when they do that for a very, very long time, because people on social media are just not transparent.
True.
A lot of them don't have integrity. So those that are having that type of lifestyle and have that type of diet, I'm really curious to see if they was to fully put their blood work on display with someone that wasn't eating something like that, see their markers, and to see what happens once the camera stop rolling. I really don't think a lot of them are healthy. I think there's propaganda in that part of that community, and they're pushing an agenda.
There's propaganda in a lot of things.
Absolutely.
I think. I think sometimes we might be a bit too naive to that.
Yeah.
And so, how have you made this work long term? Like, how can we make it long term and thrive like this?
It's just easy, especially when you find your why, and especially when you find the connection, when you can make the connection when it comes to animals and ethics. There's a lot of great reasons to be vegan, for the environment, for your health, for your loved ones. But when you do it for the animals and you make that connection, and when you realize these sentimental beings want to live here and thrive just like us, it's so easy to sustain. To me, specifically, when you make that connection to animal welfare and more, I think you'll realize, just like a lot of us that are in this community, it's the best decision of our lives. It's the closest thing to feeling like a superhero.
Yeah.
And you get stronger. You don't get weaker. You actually get really strong.
I love that. And you've had no health conditions all these years, or have you had things pop up even in the vegan journey?
No health conditions specifically related to, we all, as you get older, have some things happen to us, but nothing related to my diet. No, not at all. My blood work is impeccable. I'll put it up against anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, what do you eat in a day? And like, you're technically a chef too.
Yes. Yeah. Yes,
so
I am a chef.
What do you eat in a day? And maybe a couple of your favorite meals?
Well, again, it all depends on if I'm traveling. For example, I had two smoothies this morning, a super green smoothie full of a lot of different mixed greens, and I love wild berries. Wild berries are really good. It does a lot for your microbiome and your energy levels. Or if I'm training.
Here's the smoothie page. Look at these smoothies, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even during my Ironman days, like, I love to do a lot of juicing. Juice beets and watermelon gives you so much energy. Replace that with the coffee. I'm not a coffee person. Caffeine causes inflammation in the body, and it can throw out your whole cycle in your system in a lot of different ways. It can really wreak havoc. And most people don't realize.
Sorry to my friend behind the camera right now drinking one. He's probably like, Jillian, your guest just made me feel like crap today.
It's okay. But a lot of us, to our own ignorance, we don't learn this, but a lot of the coffee is full of pesticides.
True, that's
and more.
A big thing.
Yeah, we don't realize those beans and the process and the sourcing of that specifically. So if you're looking for an energy, a boost, the good alternative is juice, veggies, specifically beets and watermelon. It's one of my favorite combos.
Juices will give you more energy.
Absolutely.
That's for
sure. And you feel lighter and healthier, and the clarity that you get from that.
Yeah. And what do you say to people who want to have the strength, want to build the muscle? Because you've got that. Like, want to.
It's easy.
Not waste away. Like, what do they do?
You're not going to wither away. In fact, you're going to get stronger. I will tell people this, though, as a caveat. We always, because some of us are sadly driven on aesthetics. It's not all about aesthetics. I tell people all the time, just because a guy or girl looks strong and healthy, what are their cardiovascular health is like? Can they go run 3 miles without, puking or having some heart complications? Or are they taking enhancements and stuff like that? By the way, I never took any drugs or anything like that. But I ask people that question. And what you also need to realize, when you do go down this lifestyle, if you go the whole plant-based way, not the high processed foods and the high junk foods and more, you're going to lose weight because you're losing inflammation. Your body's going to look what it's genetically meant to look like. So don't get all up in the mix like, oh, I'm losing too much weight. No, you're looking what you're supposed to look like.
Exactly.
You're not supposed to look differently, and social media is causing a lot of influence and thinking people are supposed to look a certain way, ideally, and as well as legacy media used to have this ideal look of what a male and a female look. But one of the pros of social media, you have people like you, me, Scott, and other people that are showing that beauty and strength comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. It's not driven on a specific aesthetic. But
I think the norm is just bigger now. People are used to it, and then if people get down to that, they're like, "This is
yeah." And you can't listen. You're gonna get down, and you're gonna lose inflammation and weight, but you can also gain it too as well. You increase your macros and more. You can increase your strength. The good news about this lifestyle, the recovery. Next level.
And you know what?
You can work out 2 to 3 times a day.
And the people I interview, that's a big theme I see. And so I'm gonna guess you were doing drugs way back when.
I never did any drugs.
Oh, you never did them?
Never did any drugs.
You never did them back then?
Not one.
No
one.
way.
No way.
Okay, I thought you did.
Yes way. Yeah.
Okay.
No. One, it was never part of my culture. All right. Being a black man from the black culture in the 80s is different today. 2, it was against what we call nation laws, our rules of our gangs. You never get high off your own supply, basically. 3, nothing in me innately desires to experiment with drugs.
Good.
I'm not wired and engineered out of curiosity. I don't care how challenging life can get. Nothing makes me want to go run from it. I'm wired to be a warrior. I fight my problems head on. 4, drugs, you have to kind of relax your ego and let go and let things take its course through drugs and more. And I like to have a healthy relationship with my ego. I don't want to surrender my ego to something synthetic or not made for me and my body. So yeah, I never took drugs.
Wow. Were you ever a drinker or no?
Well, a social drinker. And I'm still a social drinker, but I never abused it or nothing like that. I'm not one of those people that like get blackout drunk, but every now and then I like to have a good drink.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you didn't eat clean, obviously, before.
Yeah, no, I ate it. Very unhealthy in that lifestyle when I was a dope boy. A lot of fried foods, a lot of a lot of fried foods, a lot of different meats and hamburgers and gyros, and living in Chicago, stuffed pan dish pizza.
Yeah, I've been in Chicago.
Different things.
And a lot of people still can't give that stuff up. Like they find it hard. So any advice? Like it's addictive, right?
It is addictive, and you have to view that it is a drug. These food engineers and companies are hooking you. They're the drug dealers. They're hooking you on the drugs. And they don't care about you and your health and where you're going. So yeah, you need to either do it cold turkey, do like a hard reset and just stop it. Or you can reach out to people and get help. Because a lot of these foods, these are not just processed, but ultra processed foods full of chemicals and more that's designed to get you hooked.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And okay, so you've been through a lot. You've learned a lot. What is the number one thing you've learned about health? Like if you could leave a legacy behind, and the number one thing you've learned in life, like, number one.
You're never too old to start fresh in life or even changing your diet. Life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're never too old. Don't think 'cause you're 50 old, you cannot stop and change your ways. 2, we always forget we're living organisms. We are made to move forward, not to remain stagnant. I repeat that. We're organisms. We're made to move forward and not remain stagnant. So you remain stagnant, it's almost like a sentence of death. Just continue to thrive and make changes and be better than you was an hour ago, be better than you was yesterday.
Wow. And that's what you're doing. And any cleansing or detoxing in your journey? Are you into cleanses like juicing, water fasting, any of that stuff? Or are you just kind of
I think there's pros and cons to both. I am one of those people that try to caution against being purist because I feel like a lot of that has to do with trying to be a purist. There are some people that can transition and improve their health without going through a full reset of cleansing or juicing. And then there's those that can benefit from starving themselves for like resetting the body and resetting the microbiome, especially because humans didn't eat every day. They didn't eat frequently and often. And then but you also have to consider your lifestyle, how active you are. Athletes, you have smaller meals. You need to feed that metabolism and more. So it really depends on you. It's case by case.
Yeah. And movement and fitness, that's, would you say, just as important as the food we eat?
Absolutely. Yeah. I know you've been recently getting your walks in.
Scott Bernhard is with us, and he was teaching me Intro Guide to Calisthenics. Because
Yeah,
the gym,
calisthenics is
I
the
get
core. Yeah,
bored in the gym, and
yeah.
calisthenics, it's amazing. You can do it outside.
Yeah, that so we didn't touch on that, and this is me and Scott share a common love. Calisthenics is what a lot of people don't realize the core, the blueprint of a very strong body. You know, I learned that in prison because that's what we used to do: pull-ups, push-ups, and dips all the time.
That's right.
Like when I tell you, we would do sets of 100s and then do dips and push-ups like all the time. We would finish that off at the end of the day after doing strength training on the weight pile specifically. So I know all about calisthenics. It's one of the most under-tapped and underrated ways to create a strong foundation core of a body for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna get into it. I
Yeah,
could feel a
you should.
difference even with Scott yesterday with this little beginner thing.
Yeah.
It's so much more fun than the gym.
Yeah, it can
You're
be
gonna make
fun.
being healthy fun, right? Do what we're drawn to, because there's all kinds of different ways to do things. And don't you think we just kind of have to find the route that gets us excited and feeling good?
I think the way society is trending now, and I love this, is more and more people are tapping into their health and their wellness. They're spending time joining run groups instead of going getting blackout drunk. They're going for runs and
True.
walks and working. Like working out is the new club.
It is.
Like it's a
Yeah.
vibe to be healthy and thriving. So I love that more and more young and old people are doing that. It's such a beautiful thing to
It
see.
is. I love it because we all want to thrive. Like you see, and you see a lot of people now thriving in their 70s, like Chef
Yes,
Babette, like
absolutely.
so. And it's just like that's how I want to be.
Absolutely. I think I'm gonna be in my hundreds doing it. So
You are. We're gonna interview you for your 100th birthday. Get ready, Dom.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
start
down.
planning
I'm
it.
down.
We've got like 54 years, but I'm still gonna be here doing this because I love what I do.
For sure.
And your book. Okay, I want to talk about your book again for a sec because you said you have a publisher, which I love, and a lot of
Yeah,
people watching
shout out
are
to Simon and Schuster, amazing team, specifically the Prince Simon element. Amazing team over there of women, all team of women that I surrounded myself with. Very fortunate enough to work with these incredible women that are strong, independent, smart, intelligent, and just have the biggest hearts of compassion.
It's a really respectable company.
Yeah.
So good job with that publisher choice. And I know a lot of people watching are in the wellness space, in whatever space, very different spaces, and entrepreneurs. And they want to know, they often ask me, so how did the process work with getting a book deal?
Oh, man, the process was, it's not for the faint of heart. We had the opportunity. I was approached by my incredible book agent. I love her to death. She's a no-nonsense New Yorker. Just an incredible woman you want on your team. Like she serves dual as an agent and almost like a lawyer. Like she's one of those no-nonsense, you're not going to take advantage of my client. But we created the process starts really with a book proposal. Again, this opportunity came to me. It's not like I was seeking it out per se.
This is what happened to all my friends with books. It just came to them. So you didn't go looking for it and say, I want to do a book.
Well, and when we talked about earlier about how a lot of us don't talk about the spiritual assets, the transformation of when you stop a life of harm, all these beautiful things happen in your life. Like I'm at a point in my life where both professionally and personally, opportunities come to me and I just need to vet it. You know, like I don't need to seek it as hard. You know, I have these placed in front of me and it's up for me to make that decision. Do I want to deal with that person or do I want to make this deal specifically? So, and that says a lot about who I am as a person and me putting in just genuine good work to do less harm and just put out good energy and manifest good energy in itself.
Manifesting.
Yeah, manifestation is very real. And so when this book opportunity came, you know, the proposal was written by an incredible writer, Teresa. She wrote it like a movie, literally like a movie where it was this 20 plus page document. And, you know, we presented it to all Big Four publishers. And I went with the team when my publishing team got on Zoom. And this was like right when the pandemic was letting up. And so everything was still being done virtual, you know, per se. And I seen these groups from their marketing department to the PR team to the editor, the VP of the editor. They all read it and they had tears in their eyes. And she said to me, the VP, we're not in the business to buy books. We're in the business to buy and form relationships with authors, great authors. And I never forget that. And I knew that was my home.
That's how you know you're working with the right people. I work with some companies and it's exactly like that. And that amazing. What a story.
Yeah. So it was a great team and a great relationship.
Yeah, okay. And I'll put your book down below because it's available now, right?
Yes, it's out now everywhere.
Yay.
And anywhere you can buy books, physically and online. You can go on any Barnes and Nobles. You can go in any small mom and pop bookstore. You can go directly on our website, the publisher website. You can go to Amazon if you want to support it. It's available everywhere. And we had the audio. I did the actual I read the audio. The audio
Love
book
it.
is available too for listeners.
Yeah, you must be so proud. And is your mom still around? Is she still with us?
So
She must be so proud of
my
you.
mom
What is she
is
thinking of you these days?
Yeah, I mean, my mom has always been my number one
I love
supporter and
it.
fan, and she's been one of the most selfless and greatest women you can ever meet. So I love that, my special girl. She's my favorite girl.
And do you think that you would have got out of prison when you did if you didn't become vegan? If I
didn't make that deal with the universe, I don't think I would have. I think I would have probably did a little bit more time, but I think I still, when it's in you, that ball was rolling, that energy. Because look, I used to break up dog fights as a kid. I used to fight with
dog fights.
Yeah, all types of dog fights.
Really?
Yeah.
You're tough,
yeah,
yeah. You were tough.
Yeah. I used to, be standing in the middle of a dog fight with a bunch of pit bulls.
I was just gonna ask you, pit bulls?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and fight with older kids or grown men. I'm a young Dominic, like, yo, leave these animals alone. Or if my homies, boys being boys, they would take we have these 2x4s where they'll have make a little slingshot and shoot at just stray cats and squirrels and more. And I'll slap them across the back of the head, like, stop that. I always had a big heart for those that were in, less positions of power, that was more vulnerable. So it has always been in me innately. So removing prison, I would have still became in some capacity who I am today, for sure.
Wow. What a story. Just so much to talk about. I'm so glad we finally did this.
I know.
You have such a story.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there's anything else you want to share with the audience, anything you think we missed or anything you want to get out there.
Yeah, please. If you want to learn more about me and want to learn more about this lifestyle this is a very, very incredible book that we spent a few years really developing. It's not just any type of cookbook. It's a hybrid book. It's the autobiography in there. It's also a guide, and it has incredible recipes. You can purchase that and support that. And we have also, I'm really happy to announce, there's a movie coming out, a feature movie based on my life story. We're going to be shooting this year, and it's going to be a feature film that's going to come out in theaters next year. So I'm really excited about that. So between the book and the movie, be on the lookout for the movie. But if you want to support now, definitely check out the book.
Yeah, and it says, to the page I just opened, it says meat has saturated fat, which elevates blood cholesterol, which in turn contributes to heart disease by clogging your arteries, which can lead to a stroke or heart attack. Isn't that true? The saturated fats are so bad for us.
So bad. Yeah. Definitely bad for us, for sure.
It's crazy. Well, way to go. Like, who knows if you'd be where you are today? Well, obviously you wouldn't. If you hadn't gone vegan and taken this route, who knows where you'd be, right?
It's been a journey.
On the right path.
But it just goes to show you, don't judge a book by its cover and never give up on people. You are allowed to second, third chances. It doesn't matter. Just keep on striving to thrive.
Yeah, never give up, because look at you, What a story. Well, thanks, Dom. I'm so glad that we did this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming here. And where can everybody find you too? I'll put
you can find me on the gram. It's at Dom's Thompson, DOMZTHOMPSON, and Eat Well Elephants Eat. You can find us on the gram too at Eat Well Elephants Eat. It's an amazing food company, an amazing team specifically, where we making plant-based eating not only accessible, but also affordable for everyone in their lifestyles.
Yeah. And elephants are the strongest animal in the world, aren't they? And they're vegan, right?
Yeah, the strongest vegan. They eat plants. Yeah.
See, that's crazy. It's amazing.
Symbolic, yes.
Very symbolic. So you gotta let us know when the shirts are coming back too. When they are, I'll try to put the link down below too. Yeah, we gotta get those back.
Yeah,
I need one.
The shirts will be back in stock.
Podcast.
They'll be back in stock in probably another 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, thanks again. Thanks for sharing, being so open, being an open book, and go grab the book, guys. And I'll put an awesome podcast on the screen right now for you guys to watch. Go make a green juice, get something healthy, sit back, watch something else to get inspired, and be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.